All right, guys, welcome in. We got a massive show today, a massive show. My alarm was going off, reminding me to get on the air, and I had to turn it off before coming on the air because I didn't want you to hear the annoying alarm sound. There is so much going on that I have found. I was out of town for several days, so please excuse my absence. But I am back and just double checking to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be on the live. Yes, guys. Most of you remember September 11th, 2001. It happened while I was in college. Almost everyone my age or older knows exactly where they were when they first heard the news. And for many my age and older, the attempt on President Donald Trump's life last year was the second such event. Almost everyone alive, almost every single person I know, particularly my age and older, knows where they were when they learned of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania last year. And what happened to Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University this year, just 5-6 weeks ago now, has risen to many. It's number 3 on the list. So for some, it may be number 2. Tonight, I'll take a look at a number of new, yes, even more new Google Trend searches related to that fateful day in Orem, Utah. And some of these blew my mind. Some of these absolutely wrecked my mind. But I want to start at a different place for just a second. I hope you'll give me the leniency. I hope I've earned your trust on that, because I want to know what would have happened if Donald Trump hadn't survived last year at Butler Farm Show. And what if instead of clipping his ear, what if we saw happen to President Trump what happened to Charlie Kirk? And what if we saw an absolutely gruesome end to an unbelievably famous man's life? When I was a kid, there was a Trump game. We had a game called Trump. This was the 80s. That's how famous he's been, and that's how long he's been that famous. And what if there were other plans, perhaps alternate plans to take Trump out of the 2024 election? Or maybe even ultimately out of existence itself. What if there was a plan to take him out as he deplaned his famous Trump plane during the last election? Maybe even Air Force One during this current presidency. And can Google Trends offer any insight into whether anything like that was planned? Particularly at the location where we've learned there was a tree stand or a sniper nest. So we'll start there tonight. We're going to look at what searches, if any, were run on that location. News broke today of the existence, and we now know that that tree stand had a direct line of sight to where then candidate Trump and now President Trump exits his plane at the airport. But I want to say one thing before we begin. I want to say the same thing I remind you of every single week. Google Trends results of Google searches are limited. They can only reveal what searches were run at what time and on what date and where the IP address originated. They do not reveal who precisely conducted the search. You can't name by name who conducted the search or even where they physically were located. And I draw no conclusions. I keep telling you that. I draw no conclusions. I'm only raising what I find are very interesting facts and then potential leads for others to explore, hopefully law enforcement. Since starting this series on Google Trends over the last several weeks, the practice of searching Google Trends has absolutely exploded. My little channel had under 300 subscribers when I did the first show on this topic 6 weeks ago. I now get more subscribers than that while I'm asleep at night, and I haven't done content in over a week. And several times over the past few weeks, I've tuned into some of my favorite podcasts, some of my favorite YouTube shows, and unwittingly, I find those shows covering my show. I saw it on Redacted this afternoon. I had it running in the background while I was doing some work on some other items. And while I'm watching Redacted, they start talking about the Real Baron podcast, some guy named Baron Coleman. And I was like, wow. But they're also covering now dozens, maybe even hundreds of independent journalists out there searching the same thing, searching Google Trends tool, looking for information to take to the public. I like the way I do it. I think I do it well, but tonight I'll start with the tree stand. The tree stand outside the Palm Beach airport. And then after that, and I've got to go kind of quick tonight. It's late and I'm just getting back in town, but I have a number of new leads relative to Charlie Kirk. I'm going to revisit the photographer we discussed last week, ponytail, lanyard man. Do you guys remember the guy arrested in a medical lab coat the days after Charlie Kirk died? We'll talk about him. We'll talk about judges in the 4th District or 4th Circuit, whatever they call it there out in Utah, the jurisdictional control over this case. And we'll talk about witnesses who spoke to the media. We'll even follow up on our favorite guest from last week's show. We'll even follow up on him. Because after last week's show, I thought, does he show up in Google Trends? But first, the tree stand. Let's go to the sniper's nest, whatever you want to call it. I heard this news break and I thought, surely not. Surely not. Surely there's nothing to it. So I looked it up just like many of you did on Google Maps. You go and you try to find it on Google Maps and you look and you think, not the easiest place to figure out where you want to do it, but let's just pull it up and look at it real quickly. And you tell me, because I want you guys to have faith in what I'm doing here. You'll notice here, this is the sniper nest right here in this mess of trees. This is where Donald Trump parks his airplane. In fact, I think that's his airplane right there. I think if you zoom in, that is actually Trump's airplane. That's his 767 right there. You see where it says Trump? I don't know if you guys can see that very well. That's the Trump airplane. Now notice, even on Google Maps, how clean that line of sight is. You see that? Look how clean that line of sight is. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but it's here in this mess of trees towards the bottom. And it just gets a nice line of sight over the highway, across the canal, right over to where President Donald J. Trump boards and deplanes the presidential plane. So I look at this and I think, what is the best way to find out if this had been searched on Google Trends? I can't do a search for like mess of trees near Palm Beach Airport. That won't work. So I go back to the map. Oh, I should have done this before I killed the map. Let me go back here. I go back to the map. And I click on this building right here. This is the mess of trees I'm looking for right here. So this is the address to the mess of trees. It's in the backyard of this address. And I look, it's 3075 Gun Club West, West Palm Beach, Florida. 3075. So let's see. Let's do our infamous Google search. Let's see if it's there. Oh, I just realized the lighting sucks tonight. This is what happens when you try to go on short notice. Apologize for the lighting. I'm still looking for that that Adidas sponsorship showing off. I think this is my 6th consecutive Adidas sweatshirt color, if you guys are keeping track at home. But let me go to 3075 Gun Club Road. And I found a hit. 3075 Gun Club Road, West Palm Beach, Florida. So let me open this up and I'll show you the first hit. And here it is right here in the District of Columbia. 3075 Gun Club Road, West Palm Beach. This was the address. It was searched in September of 2021. You'll recall President Trump was no longer President Trump. He was former President Trump. He'd left office in January 20th at noon, January 20th, 2021. So I think there's not much to that. Wonder if he's been searched. Wonder if this address has been searched anywhere else. Perhaps our friends on the other side of the ocean who keep searching things for whatever reason. So, like any good, diligent, budding journalist, I go look, 3075 Gun Club Road, overseas in Israel, and I find a hit. I get a hit here in June or July, or late June, early July of 2024, and again in October of 2024. Now, I will draw your attention to something that happened between these two events. Again, this is the generic 3075 Gun Club Road. If you Google it, you'll see what I'm talking about. There aren't a lot of them out there. It's not like every city has a 3075 Gun Club Road. I searched. The first 10 searches all come up to West Palm Beach. But you could say to yourself, that's not exactly specific because it is actually in West Palm Beach. I'm going to come back to that one in just a second. So I look up 3075 Gun Club Road, West Palm Beach, just again to be specific, be more specific, be very specific, and I get a hit. Again, out of Israel, about the same time, March of 2024. March of 2024. Now, you guys remember what happened Do you remember what happened in July of 2024? We have March of 2024, June of 2024, October of 2024. Yeah, I got a haircut. I went to a wedding. I saw someone posted a haircut. I hadn't got a haircut since like May. I had to get a haircut. Okay, back to the show. It looks okay though. They did a pretty good job. Okay. Oh. Stand by. Stand by. We got a big show tonight. This comment is going to come back. You guys remember the Butler Farm Show. If you don't remember, I will show you what Google Trends tells us about the Butler Farm Show, for that matter. The Butler Farm Show was in July of 2024. That's where President Trump got his ear clipped. Right here at 625 Evans City Road, Butler, Pennsylvania. That is the address for the Butler Farm Show. And that was searched April of 2024. Now, here's why I want to draw your attention to this particular search. Here's what I think is important about doing this. It would make total sense to me. That a Washington, D.C. IP address would be searching the Butler Farm Show in advance of a Donald J. Trump candidate appearance in July of 2024. I don't know when these things are planned. That's why I'm bringing it up. It's possible. I guess it's possible that this search was actually before the Trump campaign had decided to go to the Butler Farm Show in Butler, Pennsylvania. But I think it's important to mention that this probably, if I'm looking at this reminds me of the type of search that makes total sense and actually validates everything we're doing here over the last couple of months and everything now dozens or even hundreds of other independent journalists are doing all over the fruited plain. Because this makes sense. If you were going to host an event in Butler, Pennsylvania, you might Google the address to look around on Google Maps or see what else is out there, see where some trees are, now, if you did that, you would notice where the high roof is, where the trees are, and you would apparently take no securing provisions of any of it. You would leave it all open, all uncovered, and you would let President Trump get his ear grazed. But this search makes sense to me. Now, if on the off chance this was before Donald Trump decided to do the Butler Farm Show, a search originating out of D.C. for that exact address would cause me grave concern. Grave concern. I would be looking within my team saying, hey, who suggested this? Because somebody in D.C. was searching this before it happened. But I know how long presidential events take to plan. They take months, weeks, months. So the Butler Farm Show event took place, and I'm going to go back to what I was showing the first time here. The Butler Farm Show event took place between the two search nodes. This is kind of a bimodal distribution here. The two search nodes. So here you have out of Israel, 3075 Gun Club Road. This is June or July. This is before the event in Butler, Pennsylvania. And this is after the event when it's becoming pretty obvious Donald J. Trump will secure the presidency. And in between here is where he got his ear clipped in Butler, Pennsylvania. I'm just very curious who, using an Israeli IP address, was searching this location where we now know for a fact a sniper nest has been located. A sniper nest has been located. Now, it's possible. Let's look at all the alternative explanations. Somebody over in Israel gets very curious about the Palm Beach, what was it called? The Palm Beach Sheriff's Office, Forensic Sciences and Technology Building. That's possible. Somebody sitting over there, you know, they only have an ongoing war with Gaza. They've got regional conflicts going on all around them. And maybe someone kicks their feet up on the desk and says, gentlemen, have we yet determined where the Palm Beach Sheriff's Office Forensic Sciences and Technology Building is located. I mean, it could be that easy. It could be that innocent. Could be. But one wonders when you find a sniper nest located at that address. One wonders when you're searching the address the week before there's an assassination attempt on President Donald J. Trump's life, and then the week or two before the election, where it looks like he's probably going to win. One does wonder, is this related? Might this give the FBI, the Secret Service, might this give Florida police, the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, might this give them something to start researching? Might they reach out to Google and say, who was performing these searches? Was this a VPN or was this somebody's house? And what other searches were run from that IP address in the immediate aftermath or immediate before? One would wonder these things. One would wonder these things. Again, I do this and have done this for a long time with news, with breaking news. This is not unusual. This is not unusual. But if I was going to take, let's just think counterfactually. If I was going to take a shot at someone, I would never. I want to be very clear. I would never. But if I was going to, maybe I would Google the address. Maybe I would Google the address. And if I did, that Google search might end up in Google Trends. And if it did, some sharp guy with a new haircut might look it up and find it. Might look it up and find it. So that's an option. That's an option. Let me go to, let me start. Let's go back in time. I want to go, actually, no, let's not go that far back in time. Hold on, please. Oh, shoot. I just lost it. Okay. Do you guys remember the day after the arrest? The day after Charlie Kirk was shot? I'll show you the headline. Let me close all the ads out of here. Let me show you the headline. I will share the screen. Man arrested for trespassing at UVU crime scene where Charlie Kirk was killed. Do you remember this? It was a guy, and the sheriff's deputy was walking out next to him, and he had a gun, a rifle in his hand, or what looked like a rifle. Could have been a BB gun or something, but it looked like a rifle. And he was wearing what looked like green scrubs and some kind of white coat. His name was Russell Kennington. Russell Kim Kennington was his name. Let me see if I can pull up a picture of him in his white suit so you guys can see that. It was originally on there. Here we go. This is the image. See if I can find one that has the rifle in it. Here we go. You guys remember this guy? Do you remember this guy? He dressed up like a doctor, and he was, I think, taking selfies or something. But while he was there, while they're taking him out under arrest, some sheriff's deputy to his right is holding a rifle. They're holding a rifle while they're walking down the street. Now think about this. You have one of the most famous assassinations in a long time. One of the more famous assassinations in a long time. Maybe back to the 60s in America. And the scene is not only not secure, but there's a guy, for whatever reason, and we get no real explanation about him, but he's up there in scrubs, a white medical coat. Apparently there's a rifle involved in some capacity, and he's being walked off and arrested. Well, I dug around. I thought that's a little weird, right? I think that's a little weird. So I did a little digging. I'll show you the results of said digging. I think you'll be surprised. His full name is Russell Kem Kennington. Russell Kem Kennington. Here is Russell Kem Kennington. I have taken to shortening the duration here. You guys can do whatever you want when you're doing your Google searches, but I've done this to eliminate the buzz that comes after the September 10th. And it's October 20th, and I just put a 4 in. That's how that worked. But look here, this was on July 28th. Now you guys may remember that July 20th time window where I said a week or so on either side of there seemed to be some very intense searching being done. Some very intense searching being done. Well, this is in line with that timeline. This was 8 days after July 20th, July 28th. Russell Kem Kennington out of Israel. Why? Well, it's becoming too uncanny. Now, lest you say, well, that might be a common search anywhere. Well, let's look. Is it a common search anywhere? Same thing. Worldwide? No, not a common search. What about in the United States? Is that a common search in the United States? Yeah. Where is it coming from in the United States? Let's drill down and see if we can find it. Is it coming from Utah? No. What time was it coming in the United States? Again, right about the same time, July 8th, July 27th. So this is the same roughly time period where it's taking place overseas. What about the District of Columbia? Can't tell. This is what I'm saying. It's coming from somewhere inside the United States, and it's coming from somewhere in Israel. And what is the connection to this guy? Oh, now it's not coming at all. Look, isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? I got to stop sharing these before I go live. I've got to stop sharing these before I go live. They forgot to use the VPN. I'll agree with this. Only because I'm self-interested there. Okay. Now, do you remember another guy? This is a name you may not remember. He was detained briefly. His name does not sound like he looks. Let's just be honest. His name is Zechariah Ahmed Qureshi. Zechariah Ahmed Qureshi. He was the second suspect that was stopped. He was briefly detained, and then he was, I guess, done away with. Here, I'll show you the story about it. Let me find a good one. Here we go. This will be perfect. Zechariah Ahmed Qureshi. Now, that doesn't surprise me, by the way. If you were trying to pin this on some other Middle Eastern country, this name would do the trick. Family, oh gosh. See if it pulls back up. There we go. Family of man falsely linked to Charlie Kirk shooting faces online threats, asks public to stop spreading misinformation. Guys, I'm not spreading any misinformation, and I say please do not ever contact anyone that we talk about on this program. Never, 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 never. Don't contact them. Don't email them. Don't DM them. Just enjoy the program. Enjoy the program. But this is Zechariah Qureshi. The reason I say that he doesn't look like his name is when you hear the name Zechariah Qureshi, Ahmed Qureshi, you might think of somebody, I mean, more Arabic looking. This guy looks like he came out of a Nazi, suit. But anyway, he was taken into custody as a person of interest shortly after Kirk was shot. Well, I thought, okay, well, what about this guy? Do we have anything where we can find where Zechariah Ahmed Qureshi was searched again anywhere near about this time? Well, as a matter of fact, we do. But we had trouble finding where. Here is Zechariah Ahmed Qureshi. Someone very specific looking for this guy. He lives in Dallas, Texas, keep in mind. And here we are, someone in Kentucky. I don't know the connection. I'm just bringing it to you. I will say if you do a broader search, right? If you do a broader search for, say, the past 5 years, you do get a couple little bumps in here, but that could be anything. I mean, if you go overseas for the last 5 years, I think it was nobody. Yeah, that's correct. And if you narrow it to 12 months, I think it was nobody as well. That's correct. And so you can't find much about this guy. Again, I like showing you these searches even when I don't know what they mean. Even when I don't know what they mean. I like showing them to you because it shows you I'm just being honest with you. I'm not only showing you things to get a certain rise out of certain people or to put you down on a certain thing or try to persuade you into believing a certain version of the story is correct. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not doing any of that. I am just giving you what I find as I find it. I'm giving you what I find as I find it. Now, let's go to the judges. After probably foolishly giving my email address on one of these shows a couple of weeks ago, I've got a zillion tips and a zillion requests. One of the biggest requests I get is for the judge. And I didn't know why everybody wanted to see the judge. I'll pull up a news story if you guys don't know who the judge is. This judge was appointed by Utah Governor Spencer Cox. His name is Tony F. Graff. He has released some weird rulings, I'll be honest. I've practiced criminal law. I've never practiced in a capital case, but I have practiced criminal law. I've never seen a gag order as broad as the one he has recently issued. But there was a Judge Robert Lunnen who decided to retire. It left an opening, and shortly before the events there in Utah in May of this year, there was, in fact, an appointment. Now, what do we know about these people? Well, let's first go to Robert Lunnen. Let's go to Robert Lunnen. Anyone, anywhere searched Robert Lunnen? Yes, as a matter of fact. Here's a search out of Israel. May 29th. May 29th, there was a search out of Israel. What about anywhere else? Was there a search anywhere else for the name Robert Lunnen? Yes, as a matter of fact, right about the exact same time on the other side of the world. Is it this one? Yes, the District of Columbia. The other one was May 29th. This one was May 24th. For some reason, on opposite sides of the world, the former judge, about the time he was to retire, people decided to look him up. This was the guy who just left. Or this was the guy who was just leaving. Now, we do away with that. What about the new judge? What about the new judge? Has anyone taken time to look up the new judge? Yeah, they have. And you'll never guess about what time they decided to look up the new judge. Here's Tony F. Graff. That's a pretty specific search term, by the way. That's a pretty specific search term. I could not find his middle name. I wanted to search it, but I am a man of limited means. If anyone knows his middle name, I'll be happy to redo the search with his middle name, but I only have so much time. June 25th. June 25th, Tony F. Graff searched out of Israel. Now, let's look. Was he searched out of Utah during this time period? No. Strange, considering he lives in Utah. The searches were more prevalent on the other side of the world than they were in Utah. What about the District of Columbia? That's where we found the other judge being searched. Yes. June 13th. So June 13th and June 25th, or whatever it was right there, District of Columbia and Israel searching Tony F. Graff, not Utah, where he lives. I just point these things out. I draw no conclusions. I encourage you to just intellectually chew on this stuff. Let it circulate. Let it marinate. I already looked up Henry Dells. We're going to talk about him tonight. And I think I did Robbie Hill on a previous show. Why am I even looking at some of these comments? Okay. So we looked up Robert Lunnen. We look up Tony Graff. Robert Lunnen is looked in D.C. and Israel. Tony Graff is looked in D.C. and Israel. about the same time for both of them. You guys remember last week, I had on my program, probably a mistake. Well, I don't know if it was a mistake or not. It was fun. I had the guy from the Life is Driving channel. Come on. And he just panicked. Anytime I tried to tie him down on a specific question, he completely melted down. So I think to myself, do you think anyone looked him up? Do you think anyone looked him up? Now, granted, this isn't the most unique name ever, but Adam Bartholomew's name was searched in Israel on June 19th, 2025. Now, I don't know what that means. I do not know what that means. I presume they were searching this particular Adam Bartholomew, but perhaps there are a whole host of Adam Bartholomews over in God's country, right? Maybe there are a dime a dozen of Adam Bartholomews. I don't know. But I know this name was searched. June 19th. Now, what about his YouTube channel? Life is Driving. Would that have been searched anywhere? Let's find out. As a matter of fact, it was. The District of Columbia. Somebody inside DC liked the Life is Driving channel and wanted to know more about it. On May 1 of this year and on July 15 of this year. So that's in DC. Overseas, we have somebody looking up Adam Bartholomew. Same time period. And in DC, we have somebody looking up the Life is Driving channel. Now, I don't know what to make of this. One could go two different ways. We could have a Robert Frost moment, a Bobby Frost moment. We could have the road less traveled by, or we could have the well-worn path. One of those paths suggests someone was really intrigued by him. Maybe for nefarious purposes. And another path might be somebody just came across a video and thought, well, that was an interesting video. Wonder who did that. But me not knowing, I move on. Am I going to, I got a decision to make here. Yeah, okay. People have been asking about Henry Dell. I might as well go Henry Dell now, right? Let's go Henry Dell. Now, to remind you who Henry Dell is, now here's your answer. I'm giving the game away. Henry Dell was searched in Israel on May 28th, 2025. So this was this year. But let me remind you who he was. I will play a brief clip. And here's why he ended up on my radar. It was this video. Here's why he ended up on my radar. It was this particular video from Paramount Tactical. I heard this guy talking and I thought, well, this is weird. This is a really, really, really weird thing to say. Okay, you can see over here from my search history, I watch weightlifting and Saturday Night Live skits and diet. I guess it gave the game away. You're welcome. All right, let's get to it. Let me tell me if you cannot hear this, and I will effort a solution.
Ask a question that was probably a little bit different than what he usually debates people with, and he said, "Yeah, I actually love it. We'll put you at the front of the line." And so, yeah, went there. Was his last full debate that he had, and
so you were basically the person that asked the first question.
Yeah.
Totally accurate than Protestantism. Proven wrong.
So I don't know if you guys can hear this or not. Can anyone hear that? No one's saying they can't hear it, so I'm assuming you can hear it. Let me go back to it. Because it's what he says here. Okay, so he's showing a video of it. Now watch what he says here.
First one.
Wow.
Out of 2 people, I think. So there was me. There was a guy named Hunter that was asking the transgender stuff. Yeah, Hunter. He was asking all his questions, and I don't think he talked to him for a minute before he got shot. So he really didn't get to engage with him that long.
Now, you were showing me, because folks, we actually first started this conversation down here in the lower level, and you were basically just to the right of the waterfall that we were saying where you were sitting when Charlie was shot.
No, so I once I got done talking to him, I actually couldn't get out because it was super crowded. So just where that, like the PVC pipe thing, where I was hanging out, I was just a couple feet to the left.
Wow. So you were like 20 feet?
15 to 20.
15 to 20 feet from Charlie as he was shot.
Yep.
So obviously that was horrifically traumatic.
To say the least.
Yeah.
Did you see that jump cut there? When I saw that jump cut, I thought, that's weird. I want to see the guy's response to the question. I want to see the guy's response to the question. If I'm talking to you about probably the single most traumatic event that's ever happened to you in your life, and I say, man, that probably was really traumatic, wasn't it? You just watched a man slain 20 feet away on the side where all the stuff was coming out. You just saw a guy cut down in his prime, a 31-year-old father of 2. That must have been really traumatic, right? Boom. Nope, jump cut. I missed his response. What if he laughed? Oh, not really. Oh, I forgot we're rolling. I don't know what he did. May have started crying. Would have been a great video. But I saw that jump cut and I thought, damn, that's weird. Who is this guy? Yeah, take 2. Exactly. Take 2. I saw that jump cut. I thought, who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Happened to run into Henry. We started talking, and
just happened to run into him. So the guy from Paramount Tactical goes out to Utah Valley University. He just happens to run into him. Listen to him again. Not to say, hey, I called the guy and we met up because I wanted to get his story.
Hey, folks, Gary here with Paramount, and we're out here obviously at UVU, and I just happened to run into Henry. We started talking.
Why is Henry there? Why is he anywhere where you just happen to run into him?
And I'll tell you what, Henry, just tell everybody a little bit about who you are. And you were obviously here during the Charlie Kirk incident, the assassination. Tell them a little bit about. I just found it completely interesting, but how you played into this whole thing.
Yeah. So ironically, I guess you could say that I was just very, very out of nowhere. I recently moved to Utah
Recently moved to Utah. Where were you? What brought you to Utah? Where are you in Utah?
6 months before the event even happened. I run a construction abatement company here in Utah County, and I had some friends that I knew that go to UVU, and they told me about the Charlie Kirk rally that they're fixing to have. And I was a big Charlie Kirk fan because I debate a lot on religion and politics.
Okay, so I don't want to bore you guys to tears. You guys can watch this video if you want. Basically, he's a big Charlie Kirk debater. He likes it, but he had I think a difference of opinion on religion. I couldn't really hear that part of it, but he has a difference of opinion. So he gets there early. He goes to Charlie Kirk's team and says, "Can I ask a question?" They're like, "Sure, you can ask the first question." So he gets up to ask the first question, and his question was something about Mormonism. I mean, it's in Utah. It's on topic. It makes sense. But when I saw that jump cut and I thought, what's he doing here? Why? How did they happen to run into each other? It was just too perfect of a video. So I looked him up. Surely Henry Dell, no one overseas has looked this guy up. You'd be mistaken. Because Henry Dell was searched May 27, 2025 in Israel. Was he searched in the District of Columbia? Nope. Utah, where his new home is? Nope. Israel? Yep. What about Paramount Tactical? This guy has done yeoman's work trying to push the Tyler Robinson narrative. All right, so look, maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Maybe I missed that. I got it. Okay. But I look up Paramount Tactical because I keep getting everyone sending me the pro Tyler did it people. And there is a pro Tyler did it contingency, believe it or not. I keep getting videos from these people. And I think, all right, fine, I'll look at it. And I started watching a few of them. And the guy's sharp. I mean, good looking guy, nicely dressed, well spoken, got a great audience. And so I look him up. I'm looking him up. He seems like a uniquely American phenomenon, but maybe I'm wrong because on May 1st, 2025, someone in Israel decides they just have to know more about Paramount Tactical. Have to know more about Paramount Tactical. I think he's out of West Virginia or something. Is that correct? So I look up the District of Columbia, April 22, 2025. Look up Utah because they're in Utah there. May 28, 2025. I mean, it's, did I say he was in West Virginia? I look up all these and I see some hits. I think, okay, maybe people want to look up a popular YouTube channel. Maybe there's no conclusion I can draw from it. So I kind of move on. And again, why am I sharing this with you? Because I just want you guys to know I'm not sandbagging all of this stuff. I'm not picking and choosing only to show you things when it matters. I got two more things I want to show you tonight. And I think both of them are pretty big. Do you remember this guy? We showed you his videos. I think it was last week. He is a phenomenal photographer. And he is there. First, he's there for the Charlie Kirk event. And just look at the quality of these pictures. Like, I can see this guy's earwax. Look at that. Just incredibly high quality pictures of everything going on around the Charlie Kirk event. You can see, no offense to this guy, I hope he's not watching. You can see his acne. You see, this guy's got a mole right here. Just very high quality pictures. And if you zoom in, the entire audience is just bathed by this guy's photography. And his name is Charles McClintock Wilson. A very, very talented young man. Very, very talented young man. But if you remember, and I don't want to pull the video back up because I've done it now 3 weeks. We've looked at this video. But he was the guy who flipped his badge. He had the ponytail. He wore the hat. He had the black shirt. It was like some kind of Greek mythology, something logo on the front of it. And he had a black shirt or black hoodie or something. And he had a black lanyard and a white lanyard and he flipped it to black at some point. But the reason he caught my eye is he was looking behind the stage where they took Charlie Kirk just like 30 seconds later. He's there to document the crowd, document Charlie Kirk. He gets incredibly detailed images. I've actually used these images at times to dissuade people of certain notions, like he was wearing a vest. You can tell in these photos, they're so high quality, you can tell he's not wearing a vest. You can see his spine. You can see his chest hair. It's incredibly detailed photos. And so I'm looking all around this guy's pictures and I think, oh, well, he's in this video and he looks right behind the stage. So I go through all his pictures. There's no photos from behind the stage. And he was zoomed in, right? He had that Nikon or Canon or whatever he was using. He zoomed way in. That lens got nice and long. The lens got as he was doing it. And I thought there's got to be good pictures going on back there. But there were none. The whole morning is bathed in photos, but there are no pictures when he's looking back behind the stage 20 seconds before Charlie Kirk is killed. So could he have been searched? What do you think? What do you think? Do you think this guy was searched? Yeah, he was. He was. He was searched on September 1st, 2025, 9 days before Charlie Kirk was killed. He was searched on August 7th, the month before, and he was searched on June 18th. Now, this guy is Dominican. He lives in America. So let's expand the notion here. Let's expand the operation. Let's go back several years. Look, there are things back here. So again, full transparency. There were hits in Israel in years past. And if we go to the District of Columbia, nothing for 5 years. Let's go to the United States as a whole. Nothing for 5 years. You should be asking yourself something right now as we speak. I'm talking to you. You're thinking, how would an American photographer who's had a tragic life, if you guys read this guy's, if you read his biography, this guy has had a horrific life. Parents died when he was young, in and out of homes. He was extremely poor, abused, found a love for photography, and that's what he does now. But no one in the United States searches this guy. No one in the United States searches this guy, but they search him in Israel. And look, this is a different name. This is not a name you would accidentally search. Charles McClintock Wilson with a dash. That ought to raise some kind of suspicion. It does to me. It does to me. It raises some kind of suspicion. Now, could it be innocent? Of course. Of course. Of course it could be innocent. Of course it could be innocent. Is it likely to be innocent? That's for you to decide. It's for you to decide that an American photographer or Dominican photographer who lives in America and has lived here for most of his adult life, who has excellent work, by the way, is so interesting to people overseas, but of no value, apparently, to people locally here in the United States. I find that interesting. I find that interesting. Now, the last thing I want to look at tonight, do you remember the plane that the night of the shooting took off from what's the name of it? Provo Airport? And it's flying towards Arizona, and there's an allegation, and it's unclear whether or not they turned the transponder off. Did they land where they said they were going to go? Who owned this plane? Well, I look up the plane. I look up the LLC that owns the plane. I look up the registration address for the LLC who owns the plane. And I'm trying to get some kind of an idea of who it was. You remember it was Derek Maxfield, I think was the guy's name, who owned the company. And he and his wife, maybe his wife owned some makeup company or something. I don't remember exactly what all they did. But it was in, what was the number of the plane? In 888. I want to say Charlie Lima, but I could be wrong. I'll have to find the airplane. Oh, in 888 Kilo Golf. That was the November 888 Kilo Golf. That was the plane. And we looked up at the time Maxfield's name. We looked up the plane. We remember as a group class, if you don't remember, go back and watch my very first program where we discussed Google Trends. Go back and read it. Go back and watch it. Take careful notes. If you need a new pen because it's smoking, look it up. Let's search whose name. Whose name am I supposed to be searching? Okay. I went back today for whatever reason. Someone emailed me and suggested, have you done his address, the address where this LLC was supposedly located? So I go to my friendly AI. I don't have time. Rush today. I don't have time to go through all of the different databases you would need. So I go to Grok or I go to Open ChatGPT. I don't remember which one it was. But I asked, what's the address where this plane was registered? And I come up with a very weird address. It's 4101 North Thanksgiving Way, Suite 420. That's a pretty specific address. That's a pretty specific address. And I plug it in. Does anyone here want to venture a guess as to whether or not this very specific address was searched and where the search might have originated? Because I'll spoil the surprise. June 4th, 2025, 4101 North Thanksgiving Way, Suite 420, STE 420, exactly how it's registered with the FAA. I'm pretty sure that's all accurate. But do you see that? And again, what about the United States? Was such a specific address searched in the United States? Yeah, about the same time. What about the District of Columbia? Was such a specific address searched in the District of Columbia? Yeah, about the same time. That's pretty specific. So let's broaden our horizon and go back 5 years. Nope, just then. Just then. This very specific address. The District of Columbia gets very interested in it. About the same time, our friends overseas get interested in it, but only once. Only once. Only once. It's just interesting. The whole thing is just fascinating to me. You know, I draw no conclusions from any of this. I draw no conclusions from any of this. The only thing I draw conclusions on, and this is the only thing I can say for sure, because I spoke with a Google employee on background. These searches are real. These searches took place. It's indisputable. It's a guaranteed fact. Now, we've talked about this, and I've seen so many other people doing this, and I encourage it. Bang the Google Trends. Search it, search it, search it. Find as much as you can. Find as much as you can in there before it's all gone. This stuff does have a bad habit of disappearing. Take screen caps, record yourself doing the searches, download the data, which you can all do all that, and I've done it all. Be sure you're using quote marks, because that way you're making sure it's the whole search and you're not just getting pieces of searches hit. But do the searches. Do the searches. Pay particular attention to the dates. Pay particular attention to the locations. You can even do a drop-down change. If you're not finding it on a web search, perhaps a news search. That means someone searched the news.google.com feature. But do it. Do it. Share with me what you find. I actually have a new email address that I will give to this crowd. You can follow along. Let me do this. You can follow along on x.com/realbaronpod. I will put that up. x.com/realbaronpod. Real Baron Podcast would have been available, but they don't have enough. They don't have enough letters. The T wouldn't fit. It went too far. They need to add one more letter. So Real Baron Pod, you can follow along there. I will begin very soon live streaming to there as well, in addition to Google. But I will be, in addition to YouTube, but I will be putting stuff up there. Don't forget to subscribe to the Real Baron Podcast. That is the lifeblood of these things. I don't want to have to threaten you. I will. I don't want to have to threaten you, but I will. But be sure to subscribe here and follow along there. Let me give you the email address if you want to send me anything. It is realbaronpodcast@gmail.com. gmail.com. I will put that up. Real Baron Podcast at gmail.com. So you can do Real Baron Podcast at gmail.com. You can follow along x.com/Real Baron Pod. But make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the like button, leave a comment, do the notification. You read these things and they tell you you're supposed to say all this stuff. I don't like promoting myself. It's unbecoming of me. I kid. But I encourage you, share this with your friends and neighbors. When you find other people doing this well, share it with me. I love this tool. I've been using this tool professionally for 10 plus years. I was unaware so few people knew how it worked. I was unaware so few people knew how it worked. Now, when you go to x.com/Real Baron Pod, there are very few people subscribed over there. That's fine. That's fine. But here's my closing words. Here's what I'm going to say to you. This is important work. This is important work. There are people who think you're crazy because you don't believe everything you see on television. You don't trust everything the FBI tells you. They're usually like 70 plus years old. But that boomer mentality has infected some of the younger people, some of the younger set. And I'm not sure why. I think a lot of them are paid to push this narrative. I think a lot of them are encouraged, or they're caught up in the fact that, hey, if I can get in with the mainstream, maybe I can make a living out of it. I'm not worried about all that. I'm not worried about all that. Here's what I want. I want the Utah State Police and I want the FBI to do an honest investigation into the Charlie Kirk murder. And I want the FBI, the Secret Service, the Florida Police, and the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office to do an honest investigation into the sniper nest found with a direct line of sight to President Trump's plane. That's all I want. That's what I want. Whether or not you keep coming back here as news breaks and as I keep finding new things and as I run down leads you guys send me, whether or not you come back here, that's nice. This is fun. We can do it together. We're having a good time here. I do encourage you, share it with your friends, share it with your family, send it to other podcasters. I've gotten numerous requests to go on different podcasts and be interviewed. I have not taken anyone up on that yet because, again, I work for a living and don't really have time to do all that. But thank you. Thank you. Thank you for believing in the power of your own thoughts. Trust your gut instinct. Trust your gut instinct. Don't believe something's true just because they tell you it is, whoever they is. A lot of times they're right. But don't believe them just because they said it. Test everything. Believe nothing. When I was on the radio, Donald Trump was coming out with the Operation Warp Speed. This was years ago. And I remember at the time, everybody that I talked to on the radio loved Donald Trump. Most still do. But someone called in and said, hey, are you going to take the vaccine? I said, hell no. It'll be neither safe nor effective. Yeah, but Trump's behind. I don't care. I draw a line at certain places. Now, you guys may have taken it. You may believe in it. I'm not judging you. I'm using this as an example to say, just sit back and do your own research. Just sit back and do your own research. I promise you, when you research things, you've probably looked into it more than the experts. Don't let them make fun of you because you had to use Google as a tool. As we're learning with the Google Trend Search, the experts use Google as a tool too. Guys, I've enjoyed it. I promised people in this household I would keep it to an hour. I'm going to commit to that. It's been just over an hour. I will be back live probably Sunday night. But if news breaks, maybe I'll be back earlier. Thanks for joining me.